While Iran burns, Ayatollah Khamenei is dead, and Trump warns he will strike with force never seen before. A prophetic pattern seen in 1933 is unfolding exactly as it was revealed. 7 major visions described wars in the Middle East, America's involvement, and the acceleration of the end times. Yet the evangelical church remains completely blind. Stay until the end, because if you leave now, you will miss which of the 7 visions are happening right now, and what still remains to be fulfilled in 2026. This video ends in 12 minutes and 47 seconds. In June 1933, 7 consecutive visions were given that described with frightening precision events that would unfold in the following decades. These were not guesses. These were not theories. These were specific, detailed revelations that have been documented, recorded, and verified for over 90 years. And some of these visions are unfolding before our very eyes at this exact moment. The words recorded in an exposition of the 7 church ages state clearly, "The Lord Jesus spoke to me and said that the coming of the Lord was drawing nigh, but that before he came, 7 major events would transpire." These 7 events were written down that very morning and have been preached publicly for decades. The recordings exist. The transcripts are available. This is not legend. This is documented prophetic history. If you are watching from Texas, from California, from Florida, from anywhere in the United States or around the world, comment right now which state or country you are watching from, because what I am going to show you today will change the way you see world events forever. The first vision showed that Mussolini would invade Ethiopia and that nation would fall at his steps. This was declared in 1933, 2 years before the invasion actually happened in 1935. The vision also said that Mussolini would have a horrible end and that his own people would turn against him. In April 1945, this was literally fulfilled when the Italian dictator was executed by Italian partisans and his body was hung upside down in a public square in Milan. Exactly as seen. The second vision revealed that America would be drawn into a world war against Germany, which would be led by an Austrian. In 1933, Hitler had just come to power. Few in the world understood the magnitude of what was to come. But the vision was clear. It showed the tanks, showed the destruction, showed America entering the conflict. History confirmed every detail. The third vision entered the realm of world politics. 3 great ideologies were seen rising: fascism, Nazism, and communism. The first 2 would be swallowed up by the third. And then came the warning that echoes to this day. Watch Russia. Watch Russia. Keep your eye on the King of the North. This expression, King of the North, comes directly from the book of Daniel. And this is where the connection with the Middle East begins to reveal itself. These visions were not invented after the events happened. They were preached publicly for decades before their fulfillment. The recordings exist in archives such as churchages.net and branham.org. We are talking about historical records that can be verified by anyone willing to examine the evidence. Why does this matter now? Because the visions that remain to be fulfilled describe exactly the pattern of events we are seeing unfold on the world stage. The conflict in the Middle East, the tensions between nations, the power agreements, the control technology, the moral degradation of society. All of this was seen in those 7 visions over 90 years ago. The prophetic clock is running. The question is, are you paying attention to what is being revealed? The pattern revealed in 1933 began with 2 men whose names would become synonymous with tyranny and destruction in the 20th century. The first vision showed Mussolini marching on Ethiopia. The second revealed Hitler dragging the world into the greatest conflict in human history. But what few realize is that these dictators were not historical accidents. They were prototypes of a spirit that continues operating until the end of times. The exact words recorded in an exposition of the 7 church ages state, "The first vision was that Mussolini would invade Ethiopia, and that nation would fall at his steps." That vision surely did cause some repercussions, and some were very angry when I said it and would not believe it. But it happened that way. He just walked in there with his modern arms and took over. The natives didn't have a chance. But the vision also said that Mussolini would come to a horrible end with his own people turning on him. That came to pass just exactly as it was said. Consider this carefully. In 1933, Italy was a respected European power, Mussolini was seen by many as a strong leader modernizing his country. The invasion of Ethiopia would only happen 2 years later, in October 1935. And his shameful end would only come 12 years later, in April 1945. The vision saw the beginning, the middle, and the end of a dictator's story before it even began to unfold. The second vision was even more specific. It declared that a man named Adolf Hitler would rise in Germany and drag the world into a world war. In 1933, Hitler had just become chancellor. Few outside Germany took him seriously. Winston Churchill was still a lone voice warning of the Nazi danger, but the vision had already revealed what was to come. The vision also showed that the Americans would suffer a great defeat at a place where Germany would build a great wall of concrete. This was spoken 11 years before it happened. Historians know this place as the Siegfried Line, the German fortifications that caused enormous casualties to Allied troops during the advance into Germany in 1944. Now connect these dots. We are not just talking about historical predictions that came true, we are identifying a spiritual pattern. The book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 1, verse 9, declares that there is nothing new under the sun. What has been is what will be. What has been done is what will be done. The spirit that operated in Mussolini and Hitler did not die with them. It only changed addresses. When you look at the world stage today, you see authoritarian leaders rising in every direction. You see nations arming themselves. You see agreements being made in the shadows. You see the same pattern of power concentration that preceded the 2 world wars. Modern Babylon is organizing before our very eyes. The prophet Daniel chapter 7 describes 4 beasts that represent world empires. Each of these beasts had specific characteristics of domination and control. What was seen in 1933 was not just the immediate future, it was the pattern of the end times taking shape. Mussolini and Hitler were just the first acts of a play that has not yet ended. Here is what most people do not understand. The first 2 visions have already been completely fulfilled. This means the clock is running for the next ones. If God was precise in the first 2, why would he be imprecise in the rest? The Iran you see in the news today, the tensions in the Middle East, the agreements between nations, all of this fits into the bigger picture that was revealed. We are not watching random events. We are watching prophecy being fulfilled in real time. The third vision entered the terrain of world geopolitics in a way that still resonates today. 3 great ideologies were seen rising in the world: fascism, Nazism, and communism. But the revelation was specific. The first 2 would be swallowed up by the third. And then came the warning that has proven prophetically crucial for understanding current events. The exact words documented in an exposition of the 7 church ages state, "The third vision was in the realm of world politics, for it showed me that there would be 3 great ISMS, fascism, Nazism, and communism, but that the first 2 would be swallowed up into the third." The voice admonished, watch Russia, keep your eye on the King of the North." King of the North. This expression was not invented in 1933. It comes directly from the book of the prophet Daniel, chapter 11. And when you understand the biblical context of this expression, you begin to see why Iran is a central piece on the prophetic chessboard. In 1933, the Soviet Union was still consolidating under Stalin. Mussolini's fascism dominated Italy. Hitler's Nazism was just beginning in Germany. No one in the Western world imagined that in less than 2 decades, fascism and Nazism would be destroyed and communism would become the second superpower in the world. But the vision saw it clearly. If this word is touching your heart right now, leave your name in the comments for prayer, because what I am about to reveal next connects directly with the news you are seeing about Iran every day. The prophet Daniel wrote about a conflict between the King of the North and the King of the South in the last days. Bible scholars for centuries have debated who these powers are, but when you place the 1933 vision alongside Daniel's text, the picture begins to form. The warning was clear: watch the North. Watch the movements that come from that direction. Keep your eyes on the pattern of alliances and conflicts forming in that region. In the sermon conference from 1960, an even more specific declaration was made. "Listen, thus saith the Lord, repent. I predict 3 curtains. In the name of the Lord, there's one called the Iron Curtain, which will be Russia. Watch Red China. That'll be the bamboo curtain. They're horrible, but watch that purple curtain that's rising in the United States and over the world, the Roman Empire, the cruelest of all of them. Three systems of power forming in the world. The Iron Curtain represented the Soviet bloc, the Bamboo Curtain represented Eastern power, and the Purple Curtain represented something even more sinister, a religious and political system that would use beauty and seduction to control nations. Where does Iran fit into this equation? Persia, which is the biblical name for Iran, appears repeatedly in the prophecies of Daniel and Ezekiel as a nation involved in end-time conflicts. Ezekiel chapter 38 specifically mentions Persia as part of a coalition that will march against Israel in the last days. The pattern seen in 1933 was not just about Soviet communism. It was about a system of alliances and conflicts that would involve the entire Middle East. When you see Iran in the headlines today, when you see the tensions between world powers, when you see agreements being made and broken, you are not seeing random events. You are seeing the pieces of the prophetic chessboard moving into their final positions. The warning to watch Russia was not just about the Cold War. It was about a pattern of power that would continue operating until the return of the Lord. And the movements we see today in the Middle East, including Iran's role as a bridge between Eastern and Western powers, fit perfectly into the picture that was revealed over 90 years ago. The fourth vision seemed so fantastic in 1933 that it must have sounded like pure fantasy. It described egg-shaped cars with transparent plastic roofs, without steering wheels, carrying people down beautiful highways while they played some sort of game to entertain themselves. In 1933, this was science fiction. Today, it is reality driving through the streets of major cities worldwide. The documented words state, "The fourth vision showed the great advancement in science that would come after the Second World War. It was headed up in the vision of a plastic bubble-topped car that was running down beautiful highways under remote control, so that people appeared seated in this car without a steering wheel, and they were playing some sort of a game to amuse themselves." Consider this carefully. In 1933, most cars still had manual starters. American roads were dirt in many places. The idea of an autonomous vehicle was as distant as traveling to the moon. Yet the vision described Tesla, Waymo, and the self-driving cars that now circulate through streets around the world. Every detail matches what we see today. But this vision was not just about beautiful cars. It was about a level of technology that would allow total control over people's movement. Tracking systems, connected vehicles, smart cities, the signal, the mark, forms of control that previous generations could not even imagine. All of this was seen over 90 years ago. The fifth vision is even more disturbing. It reveals the moral degradation of society, particularly the progressive collapse of moral standards. The documented words state, the fifth vision had to do with the moral problem of our age, centering mostly around women. God showed me that women began to be out of their place with the granting of the vote. Then they cut off their hair, which signified that they were no longer under the authority of a man, but insisted on either equal rights or, in most cases, more than equal rights. The vision continued showing progressive degradation, increasingly revealing clothing, increasingly permissive behaviors, an entire society drifting away from the principles that sustained it. Generation after generation, moving further from God's standards. Jesus said in Matthew chapter 24, verse 37, "As it was in the days of Noah, so will be the coming of the Son of Man." And what was it like in the days of Noah? Genesis 6 tells us that the earth was corrupt before God and filled with violence. The thoughts of man's heart were only evil continually. Look around you. Turn on any social network. Watch 5 minutes of any popular programming. What was seen in 1933 was not religious exaggeration. It was a precise description of the world we live in today. Immorality is no longer hidden. It is celebrated. What was called shame a generation ago is now called freedom. What was called perversion is now called expression. Here is the connection that few make. Technology and immorality work together. The same devices that enable autonomous cars and smart cities also enable the instant and global distribution of every kind of degrading content. The system of the beast is not just about economics and politics. It is about total control of human mind and behavior through both technological systems and moral corruption. Visions 4 and 5 were not separate events. They were two sides of the same coin. Technological advancement without the moral foundation of God does not lead to progress. It leads to destruction. The same system that offers convenience offers chains. The same network that connects also corrupts. And that is exactly what we are witnessing in this generation. The pattern is clear. The fulfillment is undeniable. The question is whether you are seeing what is being revealed. The sixth vision is perhaps the most mysterious and the most debated of all seven. It revealed a woman of extraordinary beauty rising in the United States with absolute power over the nation. But this beauty concealed a cruelty that defied any description. The question that has been debated for decades, is this a literal woman or a symbol of something far more sinister? The exact words documented in an exposition of the seven church ages state, "Then in the sixth vision, there arose up in America a most beautiful but cruel woman. She held the people in her complete power." I believed that this was the rise of the Roman Catholic Church, though I knew it could possibly be a vision of some woman rising in great power in America due to a popular vote by women. The vision described her in striking detail. Beautiful as she was yet cruel, wicked, and cunning. She dominated the land with her authority. She had complete power over the people. Beauty on the outside, destruction on the inside. What is remarkable is that the Apostle John had an almost identical vision recorded in the book of Revelation. In chapter 17, John describes the great harlot sitting on a scarlet beast, dressed in purple and scarlet, adorned with gold, precious stones, and pearls. John marveled at her, just as the 1933 vision produced marvel. The beauty was seductive, but the character was murderous. The connection between the two visions is not coincidental. Modern Babylon that rises in the last days has the same characteristics. It attracts with beauty, promises, and power, but hides beneath the surface a systematic cruelty against God's saints. Revelation 17 verse 6 says, "That John saw the woman drunk with the blood of the saints and with the blood of the witnesses of Jesus." In the sermon, The Restoration of the Bride Tree from 1962, this declaration was made, "There is an iron curtain, there is a bamboo curtain, there is a purple curtain. Brother, don't you fear none of the rest of them, but watch that purple curtain. She is sitting right here on the throne today in this country." The color purple in the Bible is associated with royalty and religious power. The beast upon which the woman sits in Revelation 17 is scarlet. The woman's garments are purple. The colors indicate a fusion of political and religious power that will dominate the earth in the last days. This is not theory, this is biblical pattern. Here is the point that most people do not realize. It does not matter whether the vision is literal or symbolic. The pattern is the same. Whether a literal woman or a system represented by a woman, the result is total and cruel domination over nations. And this pattern is forming now. The merchants of the earth mentioned in Revelation 18 weep when Babylon falls because they lost their market. The system that dominates America and the world in the last days is not just religious. It is a fusion of religion, politics, and economics that controls every aspect of human life. Commerce, communication, travel, finance, everything under one system of control. When you see agreements being made between nations, when you see alliances forming between powers that were once enemies, when you see the centralization of control in global institutions, you are seeing the woman of the vision extending her power. Modern Babylon is rising, and America, as repeatedly warned, is at the center of this system. The purple curtain is more dangerous than the iron curtain or the bamboo curtain because it operates through seduction rather than force. It offers pleasure while delivering chains. It promises freedom while building prisons. And the church that does not discern this system will be consumed by it. The last of the seven visions was the most devastating of all. A terrible explosion was heard. When the view turned to look, there was nothing but debris, craters, and smoke across the entire land of America. As far as the eye could see, there was no sign of humanity. Only smoking ruins of a nation that was once great. The exact words documented in an exposition of the seven church ages state, "The last and seventh vision was wherein I heard a most terrible explosion. As I turned to look, I saw nothing but debris, craters, and smoke all over the land of America." This was not a metaphor, this was not symbolic language. This was physical, literal, complete destruction. And for over 30 years after this vision was given, the warning went forth to America to repent before it was too late. The Bible is filled with examples of nations that were judged for their rebellion against God. Sodom and Gomorrah were destroyed by fire from heaven. Ancient Babylon fell in a single night while Belshazzar feasted. Jerusalem was razed by the Romans in 70 AD, exactly as Jesus prophesied. The pattern is clear and consistent. When a nation fills the measure of its iniquity, judgment comes. And what was the condition of America in the vision? The 6 previous visions described exactly what we see today. Dictators rising around the world, wars and rumors of wars, communism and its ideological descendants influencing nations, technology of control spreading, moral degradation being celebrated as freedom, a system of cruel power establishing itself over the people. When all these conditions accumulate, judgment is not far. If you are watching right now and feel that you need to share this message with someone in your family, with a friend who needs to wake up, this is the moment. Share this video before it is too late. Because what comes next is not theory. It is biblical pattern repeating. The book and exposition of the 7 church ages contains this statement. Based on these 7 visions, along with the rapid changes which have swept the world in the last 50 years, I predict, I do not prophesy, but predict, that these visions will have all come to pass by 1977. Many have criticized this statement, saying the date was wrong, but pay attention to what was actually said. A clear distinction was made between prophecy and prediction. It was not declared, "Thus saith the Lord, everything will end in 1977. It was stated that based on the pattern being observed, the fulfillment was expected around that date. What was being observed was the pattern of acceleration. Each generation since 1933 has seen events moving faster. Technology has advanced exponentially. Moral degradation has deepened dramatically. World conflicts have intensified. The prophetic clock is running, and it is running faster and faster with each passing year. 21st century America is in a far worse spiritual position than it was in 1977. The conditions described in the first 6 visions have not improved. They have worsened dramatically. And if God's pattern in the Bible is consistent, and it always is, that means the 7th vision is closer to fulfillment than ever before. This is not said to create panic. This is said to create holy urgency. The same Bible that describes judgment also describes protection. When judgment fell on Egypt, God's people were safe in Goshen. When destruction came upon Jericho, Rahab and her family were spared. When the flood covered the earth, Noah and his family were in the ark. God always preserves a remnant, but that remnant needs to be awake. It needs to be prepared. It needs to understand the times in which it lives. Now let us connect everything we have seen so far with what is happening in Iran today. Because if you understood the pattern of the 7 visions, you will realize that the Middle East is not just another region of conflict. It is the epicenter of the prophetic clock. When the warning came forth, watch Russia, keep your eye on the king of the north, it was not just about Soviet communism. It was a key of prophetic interpretation that connects directly with Daniel and Ezekiel. And in these prophecies, Persia, which is modern-day Iran, has a central role that cannot be ignored. The prophet Ezekiel in chapter 38 describes a coalition of nations that will march against Israel in the last days. In verse 5, he specifically lists Persia, Ethiopia, and Libya with them. Persia is modern Iran, and this coalition is led by a nation that comes from the far north, a land that scholars identify with the region that today includes Russia. Do you understand the connection? The warning to watch the king of the north was not just about the Cold War. It was about a prophetic alliance that would form in the last days between Russia, Iran, and other nations against Israel and the Western world. And what are we seeing today? Iran is more aligned with Russia than at any time in modern history. Iranian drones are used in conflicts where Russia is involved. Military and economic agreements are being signed constantly. The coalition described in Ezekiel 38 is forming before our very eyes. This is not interpretation. This is observation. The third vision spoke of the 3 isms being swallowed up by communism. What we see today is not classic Soviet communism. It is a mutation, an adaptation. These are authoritarian control systems that use technology, surveillance, and economic manipulation to dominate populations. And Iran, with its rigid theocratic system, fits perfectly into this pattern of centralized control. Modern Babylon is not just the West, it is a global system. The merchants of the earth mentioned in Revelation 18 include nations from all continents. The system of the beast has no borders. It operates through agreements, treaties, organizations, and alliances that transcend nationalities. East and West are becoming one system. Here is what you need to understand about Iran specifically. Its geographical position places it at the crossroads between East and West, between North and South. Any major conflict in the Middle East will inevitably involve Iran. Any significant peace agreement will need to include Iran. The country is not a secondary player. It is a central piece on the prophetic chessboard. When it was stated in the early 1960s that 5 of the 7 visions had already been fulfilled, the pattern was being observed in real time. Now, more than 60 years later, we can see with even greater clarity. Mussolini came and went. Hitler came and went. Communism spread and transformed. Technology advanced exactly as seen. Moral degradation reached levels that could not have been imagined. The system of power symbolized by the woman is establishing itself across the globe. What remains? The final destruction. And before that happens, tensions in the Middle East will intensify. Iran will continue to be at the center of headlines. Agreements between nations will multiply. The squeeze will tighten. And the church that is not paying attention will be caught completely by surprise. But the bride of Christ knows what is happening. She is awake. She is watching. She is discerning the times. She understands the pattern. And she is preparing accordingly. You have just received revelation that most Christians will never hear. 7 visions given in June 1933, 5 of them completely fulfilled, 2 in the process of fulfillment before our very eyes, and a prophetic pattern that connects directly with what is happening in Iran and the Middle East at this exact moment. This is not religious entertainment. This is not speculation to generate views. This is a warning from heaven to a generation that is sleeping while the pieces of the prophetic chessboard move into their final positions. The sermon The Token from 1963 taught a principle that is essential for this hour, the principle of Goshen. When the judgments fell upon Egypt, when the plagues devastated the land, when the angel of death passed through the nation, there was a place of protection, Goshen, the place where God's people dwelt. There was no darkness there when Egypt was in darkness. There was no death there when Egypt was dying. The same plagues that destroyed Egypt could not touch Goshen. The same God who protected Israel in Goshen is the God who can protect your household now. But this protection is not automatic. It requires positioning. It requires obedience. It requires the blood applied to the doors of your house as the Israelites applied the blood of the Lamb on the night of Passover. Exodus chapter 12 is not just ancient history, it is the pattern for end-time protection. Before I finish, I need to tell you about something urgent. I call it the Goshen Protocol, the 21-day step-by-step guide to lock the spiritual doors of your house before the squeeze truly begins. It is not a book to read on the couch. It is a practical guide that thousands of families are already using to protect their children from what is coming. It costs less than a snack at the coffee shop, but it is worth the eternity of your household. The link is right below. Do not wait for the agreement to be signed and the lights to go out. Click now and shield your family before it is too late. The bride of Christ knows what is happening. She is not caught by surprise. She is awake, watching, understanding the times. And that is the difference between the religious church and the true bride. The religious church debates doctrines while the world burns. The bride is positioned in Goshen while the judgments fall. No one knows the day or the hour of the Lord's return, but the signs are everywhere for those with eyes to see. Iran is in flames. Agreements between nations are multiplying. Control technology is expanding at unprecedented rates. Moral degradation is reaching levels never seen before. The system is closing in from every direction. If this video touched your heart, If you felt the Spirit of God speaking to you while you watched, I need you to do 3 things now. First, leave your name in the comments so I can pray for you and your family. Second, share this video with someone who needs this word of warning. And third, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you do not miss any revelation that is yet to come. The 7 visions of 1933 are not ancient history. They are a map for the present and a compass for the future. 5 fulfilled, 2 in progress. The pattern is undeniable. The evidence is overwhelming. The time is short. He who has ears, let him hear what the Spirit is saying to the churches. The bride is preparing. The bridegroom is coming. The clock is running. The only question that remains is, are you awake? Are you positioned in Goshen? Are you ready for what is coming?